One way to make the most of life is to view it as an adventure. William Feather. A way to open the door of perception for people to step out of their own familiar limits. When viewing life as an adventure, we no longer look at each day with the weary eyes of obligation, but with the curiosity of someone exploring a new land. Each morning awakening is like opening a blank page in a book, where joy, challenges, mistakes, and hope coexist, interwoven like colors, creating a vivid picture of human life. Adventure does not mean blind recklessness, but daring to step forward even if the path is not yet clear, daring to accept stumbles as an inevitable part of growth. When we allow ourselves to see failure as a lesson, sadness as a necessary pause, and success as a milestone rather than the final destination, life suddenly becomes lighter and more profound. Like a traveler passing through high mountains and vast seas, we learn to listen to ourselves, cherish every small moment, from the early morning sunlight to the sudden afternoon rain. It is that adventurous attitude that helps people avoid being trapped in fear or monotonous repetition, always keeping the soul open to welcome the new. And looking back, we realize that the greatest value of life lies not in how fast or slow we go, but in how fully, curiously, and courageously we have lived on the journey called life. If you want to succeed, you should find new paths instead of walking on the worn paths of accepted success. John D. Rockefeller. A bold and inspiring mindset in the journey of self-affirmation. The old paths often bring a sense of security, as they have been proven right by others. However, that very security sometimes becomes an invisible limit, causing people to only repeat the successes of others without creating their own mark. Following the beaten path helps us avoid risks, but it also easily makes us blend into the crowd, living a safe but breakthrough-lacking life. In contrast, choosing a new path requires courage, creativity, and strong faith in oneself. It is a path without existing footprints, where each step carries doubt, challenges, and the risk of failure. However, it is in that process that people truly discover their potential. Each mistake becomes a lesson. Each fall is a forging of resilience, and each small step forward is proof of the spirit to think differently, act differently. True success lies not only in what we achieve, but also in how we go about achieving it. When daring to veer off the familiar beaten path, we not only seek achievements for ourselves, but also contribute to opening new paths for others to follow. Therefore, in a constantly changing world, those who dare to be creative and different are the ones who can go the farthest. And sometimes, that choice, unlike anyone else's, is the beginning of the greatest successes in life. If you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. Maya Angelou. Life doesn't always go as we wish, and not every circumstance can we control. However, what we can always do is choose how to react to what happens. When facing something unsatisfactory, daring to change shows a proactive spirit. Daring to take responsibility for one's own life. It is when we do not resign ourselves, do not leave fate to chance, but seek to improve the situation through specific actions. But there are also situations beyond human control, losses, limits, or irreversible events. At that time, changing attitude becomes the saving power. Instead of resenting, we learn to accept. Instead of resisting, we learn to adapt. It is that shift in thinking that makes the soul lighter, opening new perspectives to find meaning even in adversity. A positive attitude does not erase difficulties, but it helps us not to be drowned by them. Happiness does not come from life always being smooth, but from the ability to be flexible in the face of every change. When we know when to act to change circumstances and when to change ourselves to adapt, we hold the key to peace and growth. It is that attitude that turns challenges into lessons, turns adversity into stepping stones for people to stand firmer on the journey of life. Boldly saying, "I was wrong," is how we accept facing difficult situations. It is somewhat risky, but what we receive will exceed expectations. Rich DeVos. Not everyone has enough courage to admit their own limitations. In life, people often fear being wrong, fear losing face, fear being judged. So we easily put on the defensive armor of excuses and silence. However, when daring to speak that admission, we do not weaken, but on the contrary, take a very solid step towards maturity. Accepting mistakes is like opening a narrow door, but leading to a vast space of understanding and trust. Although initially we may face skeptical looks or feelings of unease, the reward received often far exceeds the fear. Relief in the soul, respect from others, and the opportunity to correct and learn. Like someone daring to walk through the rain to see the rainbow, we can only touch profound values when accepting to get wet, accepting vulnerability. Saying, "I was wrong," does not make us smaller, but helps us become more genuine, courageous, and humane in the challenging yet immensely meaningful journey of being human. Positive, confident, and persistent are the keys in life. So never give up on yourself. Khalid, the foundation that helps people stand firm amid the ceaseless changes of life. When maintaining a positive attitude, we learn to see the light even on the gloomiest days, turning difficulties into motivation rather than barriers. Confidence is not believing that we are always right, but believing that we are strong enough to face mistakes, resilient enough to continue, even if the path ahead is still foggy. And persistence is the smoldering fire in the heart, helping us not to fall before seemingly endless failures. Life is not always fair or easy, but it is our attitude that decides how we go through those challenges. When people know to believe in their own value, know to stand up after each fall, then no difficulty is meaningless. Never give up on yourself, because in each person there exists a silent strength waiting to be awakened. Just patiently keep stepping forward, even slowly. We are still advancing towards the light of growth, peace, and the true meaning of life. Love me or hate me, both are beneficial to me. If you love me, I will always be in your heart, and if you hate me, I will be in your mind. Baland Quandeel. A philosophy of life full of resilience and sobriety. When a person is loved, they exist in another's heart with warmth, respect, and attachment. It is a gentle connection where positive emotions nurture trust and motivation for living. But even when hated, they do not disappear. On the contrary, they exist in thoughts, in attention, and in the strong emotions of others. Whether love or hate, it proves that their presence is large enough not to be forgotten. A confident attitude towards life, not dependent on the judgmental gaze of others. When we understand our own value clearly, praise does not make us arrogant, and hatred cannot make us fall. Instead of trying to please everyone, we learn to live true to ourselves, calm in the face of differing opinions. Like a brightly burning flame, whether warming or burning others' hands, it still shines in its own way. And that steadfastness helps us walk more lightly through a world full of judgments, because we understand that the most important thing is not what others think, but whether we have enough courage to live true to ourselves or not. Attitude is more important than the past, than education, than money, than circumstances, than what people do or say. It is more important than appearance, talent, or skill. Charles Swindoll. The inner strength of human beings. The past may leave indelible scars. Education may create a foundation. Money may open opportunities. But all those things become meaningless if people lack the right attitude towards life. It is attitude that decides how we perceive adversity, as a wall blocking the way or as a ladder for growth. A person may be born in difficult circumstances, without advantages in conditions or starting points. But if they maintain a positive spirit, eagerness to learn, and determination, they can still rise strongly. Conversely, someone who possesses all the conditions but lacks the right attitude easily loses themselves amid complacency and surrender. Attitude not only decides how we react to failure, but also shapes how we face success, humble or arrogant, grateful or taking it for granted. In the ceaseless flow of life, appearance will fade, talent may wane, circumstances may change, but attitude is what remains the longest and influences each person's journey the most profoundly. A positive, proactive, and kind attitude can turn gloomy days into opportunities, turn challenges into motivation, and turn ordinary people into better versions of themselves. Because, after all, what decides how far we go is not what we have, but how we choose to walk on that path of life. In human life, there are two flat paths without obstacles. One is going towards the ideal, the other is going towards death. Lev Tolstoy. The path leading to the ideal is called flat, not because it is easy, but because when people have clearly defined goals and beliefs, all thorns become meaningful. Even if we have to overcome many challenges, falls, or doubts, we still step forward with a clear direction, a silent flame illuminating each step. It is the ideal that makes people accept hardships as an inevitable part of the growth journey, turning difficulties into motivation and pain into inner strength. Conversely, the path leading to death is flat in another sense. It is surrender, giving up aspirations, living without goals to pursue. When people stop dreaming, stop trying, life seems to flow gently, without waves, but also loses the deepest meaning of existence. It is the flat stillness of a stream that no longer flows, serene but cold. Between those two paths, each person has the right to choose. The ideal may make us tired, sometimes hurt, but it helps us fully feel the value of living, struggling, and hoping. Because people do not truly live when merely existing, but only truly live when daring to step forward, daring to dream, and daring to take responsibility for their own journey. You can change your world by changing your words. Remember, death and life are in the power of the tongue. Joel Osteen. Words are not just a means of communication, but also a mirror, reflecting the thinking, emotions, and attitude towards life of each person. Each spoken sentence carries its own energy. It can soothe a wounded soul, but can also leave hard to heal wounds. Therefore, words do not simply resound and then vanish, but silently sow seeds for long-term results in life. When we choose positive, sincere, and kind words, the world around us seems gentler. A timely word of encouragement can lift a person on the brink of despair. A sincere sentence can mend a seemingly cracked relationship. Conversely, harsh, thoughtless words can destroy trust, deeply hurting inherently fragile souls. That is why it is said that death and life are in the power of the tongue, not in the biological sense, but in the spiritual and emotional sense. When we learn to speak positive words to others, we are also learning to dialogue gently with ourselves. Instead of self-blaming, we choose to encourage. Instead of sowing pessimism, we nurture hope. From there, the inner world gradually changes, and the outer world transforms accordingly. Because ultimately, life is not only made up of what we go through, but also by how we name, interpret, and face them. And sometimes, just changing one word, we have silently changed the direction of our own life. Optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence. Helen Keller. A small lamp illuminating the path people take through countless challenges of life. Optimism is not a blind view of reality, but the ability to see light even when darkness envelops. It is the belief that, No matter how difficult the circumstances, we can still find a way if we do not give up hope. It is that belief that becomes the silent energy supporting people to stand up after falls, to continue walking when legs are weary. Confidence acts as a solid anchor, keeping the soul from being swept away by doubt and fear. When believing in ourselves, we dare to try, dare to fail, and dare to start over. Each effort, however small, contributes to great results, because success rarely comes from luck, but is built from persistent faith in one's own abilities. Conversely, when losing hope, people easily hesitate even before starting, closing the door of opportunity that life is opening. Optimism does not make the road less bumpy, but it makes our heart strong enough to keep going. It is the positive attitude that helps people turn failure into lessons, turn difficulties into motivation, and turn dreams into clear goals. Because no achievement is created from doubt, and no bright future is for those who refuse to believe in themselves. When maintaining faith and hope, we not only conquer goals, but also find the profound meaning of the journey of life.